Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Kings, the 7th chapter, pretty much continuing from where we left off in the 6th chapter, ending with the the king of Israel pretty much on his way, right, sending a messenger there to Elisha, and on his way with the intent of putting him to death because he blamed him for the siege that led to the famine in Samaria. So here we are, continuing from that point in 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 1. Then Elisha said, "Hear ye the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord, tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria." Now remember that at this time, right, there was pretty much a famine in Samaria, and what they were selling was dove's dung and a calf's head and so on and so forth, because of the lack of food. But here Elisha is saying, just within the span of, a few hours in this case, right, by tomorrow, that's all going to change. Then a lord, whose hand the king leaned, answered the man of God. So this is one of the, you can say, like officials, princes, somebody in a high position under the king, who assisted or supported the king. He ended up replying and said, "Behold, if the Lord Yahweh would make windows in heaven, might this thing be?" And he said, "Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof." So this Lord answered pretty much in like disbelief, right? To say like, yeah, that'll happen, but the only way that'll happen is if the Lord was to, by making windows, meaning like let it pour down like a heavy rain, for that for the land to get that water, so they can then go ahead and have these crops and so on and so forth. So Elisha tells him, yeah, no worries, you're gonna see it, but you won't be able to eat of it. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, "Why sit we here until we die?" So these lepers were at the entrance. They weren't inside the city yet, they were just at the entrance. "If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city, and we shall die there. And if we sit still here, we die also." So if we go inside, we're going to die of the famine over there. If we stay out here, we also going to die. Now therefore come and let us fall onto the host of the Syrians. Because remember, they were under siege by the Syrians. So they're saying, you know what, let's just go and, just surrender or whatever. And if they save us alive, we shall live. And if they kill us, we shall but die. And we shall but die here, meaning like we'll die anyway. If we sit here and do nothing, we'll die. We go into the city, we'll die of the famine. If we go out there, then there's a chance that we might live or die, but we'll take our chances there. And they rose up in the twilight to go on to the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. Now the twilight being, there's 2 points, right? You have the morning twilight and the evening twilight. And it's pretty much that point where the sun is like partially illuminating the sky. So it's not fully bright, it's not fully dark. It's like that little point. So like before the sun fully rises and before the sun fully sets. So you can take an image here, twilight, sun, and yeah. So you can see, and it looks slightly different in both cases, right? When it's like before the sun rises, it'll look probably something like this. And before the sun sets, it'll look something like this. So you can't really see the sun, but you can see the illumination, which is kind of partial over there. And you can sort of see a nice diagram here when you have the horizon. So before sunrise, right, this you can still get that as it says here, this twilight over here. And likewise, like if this is sunset, before you hit that dusk period where this, you know, you go into this like darkness area, you have this little twilight over here. Cool. So at this point, as we read further, we'll find out this was the night twilight, right? This the not before sunrise, but more like around sunset. Anyway, so they come up with this idea, and so they go ahead, right? They go to the camp of the Syrians, where the Syrians are at, and boom, ain't nobody there. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians, so the Syrian army, to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. So by hearing these sounds, this sounded like armies, you know, troops, horses, all that. So they're like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? These guys went and got backup. We gotta get up out of here. So they fled. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. So they just left everything and just ran. Show you how simple, like how easily and quickly the Lord can turn a bad situation into a good one. Just like that. We're just the Lord making them hear things. There you go. There's no more army of the Syrians besieging Samaria anymore. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent and did eat and drink. So you can imagine they were hungry as hell. They go in there, they see food, man, having a field day. And carried then silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it, and came again and entered into another tent, and carried then also thence also, and went and hid it. So they're looking in these tents. They say, oh, whoa, let me take that, let me take that, let me take that. They go, they hide it. All right, cool. Wait, what's then checking another tent, finding good stuff. Then they said one to another, we do not well. So, you know, you can imagine, right? They're picking these things up in haste, but then eventually they're just like, man, nah, this ain't right. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. So this is good news, and yet here we are, like keeping it to ourselves. If we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. So he's saying, look, this, you know, if we keep this to ourselves and we like be greedy and just hog all of this until the morning light, definitely something bad is gonna happen to us. So, you know, let's not do that. So anyway, they go to the king's household. So they came and called on to the porter of the city, like the gatekeeper, and they told them, saying, we came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of man, but horses tied and asses tied, and the tents as they were, completely empty, and everything else was still there. And he called the porters, and they told it to the king's house within. And the king arose in the night, and said unto his servant. So there you go, right? This all happened, and within the span of this happening, there's a mention of the night here, right? So we know that the twilight in which these men went to the camp of the Syrians was that leading into the night. So the king hears this, he rises up, and he said unto his servants, I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we would be hungry. Therefore they have gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, when they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city. So he's saying this is a plot. You know, they're trying to get into our minds. They're trying to bait us here, and that way they can get access in. They can catch us, and they can break through the walls and so on, and get in the city. And one of his servants answered and said, let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the horses that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are as the multitude of Israel that are left in it. Behold, I say, they are even as all the multitude of the Israelites that are consumed. And let us send and see. So basically the servant is saying, look, let's just send at least 5 servants, right? Let them go in and take a look at it. If something happens to them, it's just like us. You know what I'm saying? If they die over there, well, we gonna die anyway over here. You know, so it's better to at least go and check. All right, because we're all in the same situation over here. They took therefore 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, Go and see. And they went after them unto Jordan, and lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messengers returned and told the king. And the people went out and spoiled the tent. So you can imagine the speed, right? The vehemency with which they ran out there to go and get whatever they could get their hands on. So a measure, and there was definitely a lot of food and provisions there, because when you come to lay siege to another city or another location, you bring victuals, you bring resources, because you're gonna be there for a while. So how do you feed your soldiers? Where do you sleep? All of those things. And when you watch some of these ancient movies about Rome or movies about just times in the past with war and those kinds of things, you'll see a good visual representation of this. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord Yahweh. And the king appointed the Lord, on whose hand he leaned, to have the charge of the gate. So he would be, in the one at the gate, controlling. All right, calm down, let's not rush, let's not. And the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died. So you can imagine, if you've watched The Lion King, when Simba fell down right into the gourd, wherever the place is, and all those the stampede was coming. Yeah, you can imagine people like that, like Black Friday, and they just stomped his ass out. Yeah, the shoe prints of people's feet on his face. And he died, as the man of God had said, who spake when the king came down to him. And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that Lord answered the man of God, and said, Now behold, if the Lord Yahweh should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And so it fell out unto him, for the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died. So basically, the same guy who said that basically said in disbelief, about this would only happen if the Lord did X, Y, and Z. Well, the fate that Elisha said would befall him is what ended up happening to him, which is why Elisha said he would see it, but he would not eat thereof. And that brings us to the end of the book of 2 Kings, the 7th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.